So in this video, we'll unpack how to inspire collaboration with your team in a virtual environment. Hi everyone, I'm Taylor Scott, working with the Training and Communications team here at SGEI. The purpose of this short video is to give you some practical tips and ideas for leading remote teams in a virtual world. The world indeed has changed, and our lives both at home and at work will forever be changed. For many, leading virtual or remote teams is not new. For others, leading in a virtual environment may be a new challenge. Even for those with experience leading people remotely, leading people during this pandemic and in the months and even years to follow will be an entirely new challenge. See, we believe leadership is the ability to connect with and inspire the hearts and minds of employees to want to do what you want them to do and to perform at their very best. The reality is, in today's world, and especially in a virtual environment, staying connected to those you lead, as well as your coworkers, colleagues, friends, and even your family members, will become more important than ever. In their book called Primal Leadership, Daniel Goleman and Richard Boyatzis point to research that says 70% of employees perceive the climate of their organization to be traced back to the actions of their immediate manager. Well, this is especially true in a virtual environment. Working with leaders and organizations all over the world, we've learned what we call the 5 C's of virtual leadership. Here they are. They are collaborate, communicate, coach, care, and celebrate. We've found that when leaders lean into their opportunity and responsibility to fulfill each of these leadership behaviors, a 6th C, and in many ways the most important one, tends to take care of itself, and that is connection. Whether we're in person or in a virtual world, leadership is still about connecting with hearts and minds. Without connection, leaders will forever fight an uphill battle. So in this video, we'll unpack how to inspire collaboration with your team in a virtual environment. Leaders who inspire collaboration despite the physical and social distance are great at the following: understanding human behavior as it relates to group dynamics. Next, they're great at keeping their teams focused on the mission, the goals, and the values of the organization. And they're also great at engaging their people to share ideas and help them execute their own game plans, helping each other. And finally, creating opportunities for the team to work together to complete tasks, to solve problems together, and to have some fun. So let's start with group dynamics. In 1965, educational psychologist Bruce Tuckman discovered what eventually became known as Tuckman's model of group development. This theory has been tested and tried and proven over the years across generations, cultures, and contexts, which is why it's worth bringing up right now. You see, when groups of people are faced with challenges, something new, much like the drastic change we're all living through right now, the model says that in order for groups of people to transform into high-performing teams of people, they have to go through 4 stages. Here are the 4 stages. First, the forming stage, when people begin understanding each other's roles and responsibilities. Next is the storming phase. This may sound familiar to many of you. This is when inevitable conflict may arise as people work through differences in opinion and perspectives. And then we get to the norming phase, when the dust settles and people begin to trust each other, becoming more comfortable in their role while respecting everyone else's ability to do the same. And then finally, we get back to the performing stage, when the team is firing on all cylinders with trust and respect for each other. What Tuckman's research found is that for groups of people, humans like me and you, it's inevitable and necessary for all of us to go through these 4 stages in order to get back to becoming a high-performing team. Here's the important point. If you were leading an operation, a team, or an organization which was used to going into the office and working in person, this drastic shift and change to a virtual environment can knock your team off its course. So you may have been in the norming stage, you may have even been in the performing stage, but this change, and in the face of this new challenge, your team has likely regressed back to the forming or storming stage. I just want to remind you, don't worry, because this is 100% normal. The reality is, anytime a new leader or a new employee joins a team, the same thing happens. And the process starts all over again. So this is why it's important to note as a leader of a remote team, especially right now. Even if your team is used to working remotely, these new changes and the new reality may very well have caused the goals to change, and maybe even roles and responsibilities have changed. This is why it is important to ensure collaboration in and among your team. So here's a few tips and best practices that we want to share with you for inspiring collaboration in this remote world. First is to reinforce your mission, values, and your goals. So the landscape may have changed and new processes may have to be put in place. But did your mission change? See, unless your overarching mission or purpose of your organization has changed, then reinforce and remind everyone why it is you're in business in the first place. This will keep your team inspired and, most importantly, together, united in contributing to your cause. Now, if your mission did change as a result of what's happening in the world right now, then now is a perfect time to ground everybody on those changes. So this brings us to goals. Make sure everybody understands the new priorities or the SMART goals at the organizational level. So SMART goals, as you may know, these are goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound with a due date. Finally, make sure everybody understands their own individual SMART goals and objectives. Realize that if goals or objectives have changed, then you as the leader have to collaborate even more and help people navigate the forming and storming stages again so you can get them back to norming and ultimately performing. Remind everybody of your company's values as well, and that will inspire them in how the work gets accomplished, just as much as it will inspire the quality of what they produce. Once you have everybody set, everybody's on the same page on the overarching company goals and their individual goals, ensure everybody has visibility into each other's action plans. In other words, in your Zoom calls, make it a point to share who is doing what and by when, so that everybody can begin sharing ideas and perspectives with each other. What this will do, this will help everybody stay aligned, but also keeps morale up because each individual can stay laser focused on their individual role and their own specific objectives, while also offering advice or perspectives on a coworker's goals. My dad's basketball coach used to call this, back in the early 1970s, keep your passers passing and your shooters shooting. Finally, in a virtual environment, working remotely, don't forget to have fun. We can be serious about the work we do and the services we provide, but the most successful leaders and organizations try not to take themselves too seriously. So build community on your team via Zoom, FaceTime, Google Meet, every chance you get. We found that you can engage your teams in team builders and fun group exercises and games via Zoom just as effectively as we're able to do it in person. For example, on a Zoom call, block off some time and encourage everybody to share what inspires them most about the company or what inspires them and gets them psyched up about their role. The more you as a leader commit to meaningful conversation and collaboration, the more emotionally connected your team will become to both your brand and to each other. So take a few seconds right now and ask yourself, which of these best practice tips or tactics for leading in a virtual world make the most sense for you to implement in the coming days and weeks in order to inspire more connection on your team and among those you lead, despite the social and physical distance between them. To wrap up our conversation on collaborating, here's a recap. Remember, the best leaders in a virtual environment don't let the distance, socially or physically, stop them from collaborating. Remember the model of group development and help your team navigate those stages: forming, storming, norming, in order to get them back to performing. It's 100% normal, and we're all human beings. It's the one thing we all have in common. Utilize your resources effectively and create opportunities for the team to complete tasks together, solve problems together, and most importantly, to have some fun. I'm confident your team will thank you for encouraging collaboration, especially in this virtual environment. Hang on to this quote that we love from the great Ken Blanchard. He said, "None of us is as smart as all of us." Thank you so much for watching. We wish you health and happiness and happy collaborating. We'll see you next time.